There is a place where the world forgets to move, where silence is not an absence, but a presence, heavy, physical, pressing against the chest like a hand. Siberia. The name itself carries weight. Say it slowly, and you feel the cold in the syllables. A land larger than the United States and Europe combined. A continent hiding within a country. You could travel here for days, weeks, and never see another soul. Only the trees, only the snow, only the wind, moving through emptiness like a rumor of something older than memory. This is not a place that invites. It endures. It waits. It watches. And within its vastness, two forces wage an eternal war. In the east, fire. Volcanoes split the earth. Magma rises through cracks in the crust. The land bleeds heat into frozen air. In the north, cold. Not winter, not a season. Something permanent. Something that has not lifted for millennia. Between these extremes, humans have made a home, not by conquering the land, never that, but by learning its rhythms, by listening to what the ice demands. This is their story, and the story of the sleeping giant beneath their feet. Deep in northeastern Siberia, cradled by mountains that trap cold air like water in a bowl, lies a valley where temperature loses meaning. Oymyakon. Here the cold does not visit. It lives. It owns the air, the ground, the silence between heartbeats. Breath crystallizes before it leaves the lips, tiny diamonds suspended, then falling. Metal becomes treacherous. Touch a doorknob with bare skin, and it will not let go. Engines must run continuously, day and night, or they will never start again. Yet 1,000 people call this place home. They are not survivors in the dramatic sense. There is no heroism in their routine, only patience. Children walk to school through darkness and fog. Shopkeepers open their doors at the same hour, every morning. Families carve ice from rivers, stack it like firewood, melt it for drinking water. This is not endurance. This is life, calibrated to the cold's demands. 400 kilometers south, the city of Yakutsk emerges from the permafrost like a mechanical organism. Nothing here touches the ground directly. Buildings stand on concrete pillars raised above the permafrost so that human warmth does not melt the foundation beneath. Water pipes cannot be buried. They would freeze and shatter. So they hang in the open air, wrapped in insulation, stretching across the city like exposed arteries. In winter, Yakutsk vanishes. Ice fog rolls through the streets, condensation from exhaust, from breath, from the simple fact of warmth meeting cold. The city becomes a ghost of itself. Figures emerge from white, then dissolve again. At the open-air markets, commerce continues. Fish are sold frozen solid, stacked like carved stone, preserved not by technology, but by the air itself. Vendors stamp their feet. Customers do not linger. Every transaction is brief, efficient. Warmth is currency here, and no one wastes it. Beyond the city, the roads of Yakutia stretch into nothing. They are not infrastructure in any conventional sense. They are negotiations, fragile agreements between human necessity and a land that owes nothing to anyone. The most infamous is the Kolyma Highway. Locals call it the Road of Bones. "2,000 kilometers of isolation, of silence, of consequence. Here the asphalt cracks not from traffic, but from temperature. The ground beneath shifts with the seasons, rising and falling like something breathing. Repairs are constant. Potholes appear overnight, swallowing wheels without warning. Drivers who travel this road follow unwritten laws, ancient protocols born from necessity. Never journey alone. Never let the engine die. Restarting it may be impossible. And if you pass a vehicle broken down in the snow, you stop. Always. Without question. This is not kindness, not charity. This is survival's oldest currency, the understanding that today's rescuer is tomorrow's stranded soul. Beneath Siberia, there is another world, not a world of movement or light, but of stillness, of preservation, a vault sealed by cold and time, holding secrets the surface has long forgotten. This is permafrost, ground that has remained frozen for tens of thousands of years, in some places hundreds of meters thick. It does not thaw, it does not shift, it simply waits, and within its grip, the past survives. From this frozen ground, they have emerged. Woolly mammoths, not as fossils, not as bones bleached by time, but as bodies, fur intact, skin preserved, muscles still holding shape. In 2010, a discovery stunned the world. Her name is Jana, a young mammoth, barely 1 year old when she died. She had lain beneath the permafrost of Yakutia for over 50,000 years, undisturbed, unrotted, preserved, inextraordinary. Detail. Scientists found food still visible in her stomach, the contents of her last meal, preserved across an ocean of time. Of only 7 mammoth specimens ever recovered globally, Jana remains the most complete. A window into an Ice Age ecosystem we can barely imagine. But the permafrost holds more than ancient giants. Within the ice, scientists have identified bacteria and viruses dormant since the last glacial period, organisms frozen before human civilization began. They call them zombie viruses, not because they are dangerous in themselves, but because they remain viable, capable of revival, waiting for warmth. As temperatures rise, the permafrost is thawing, coastlines are crumbling. The ground that held these secrets for millennia is beginning to release them. The archive is opening, and we do not yet know what it contains. A 1,000 kilometers east, the rules change. Here the earth does not sleep, it bleeds. Kamchatka lies on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates collide with such force that the pressure must escape, and it escapes as heat, as eruption, as the constant reminder that beneath this frozen surface the planet is alive. More than 300 volcanoes rise from this peninsula. 29 remain active, erupting, smoking, reshaping the land with each convulsion. The most striking is Kluchevskaya Sopka, symmetrical, enormous. Its eruptions send ash columns into the stratosphere, darkening skies hundreds of kilometers away. Not far away lies Mutnovsky, less elegant, but more intimate. Its slopes bear the scars of constant activity. Walk here, and you feel the heat rising through your boots. Mud bubbles, water boils, snow melts in patches, revealing bare rock that steams in the cold air. Deeper within the peninsula hides the Valley of the Geysers, one of the largest geothermal fields on Earth. Hot water erupts from the ground without warning. Steam swirls through narrow canyons, obscuring the sky. Ice and fire exist mere meters apart. Glaciers feed rivers that flow through boiling springs. The contradiction is constant and somehow in balance. In this chaos of elements, life not only survives, it thrives. Kamchatka's brown bears are among the largest on Earth. Adult males can weigh over 700 kilograms, mountains of muscle and fat, moving through a landscape that seems designed to destroy. In summer and autumn, they gather along rivers swollen with migrating salmon. The feeding is intense, desperate even. Each fish consumed is fat stored for the long hibernation ahead. Each calorie is survival. Here, at the edge of the Ring of Fire, the brown bear is not merely a predator. It is proof that even in a land of eruptions and earthquakes, the old rhythms endure. Siberia refuses simple definition. In the south, the Kara Desert spreads its golden dunes. sand shaped by wind, surrounded by snow-capped peaks, a desert where no desert should exist, born from glacial sediments abandoned by the last ice age. Far to the north, above the Arctic Circle, the Putarana Plateau rises, a fortress of black basalt carved by ice and water. Thousands of waterfalls cascade into canyons so deep that sunlight barely reaches the bottom. These places are not anomalies, they are evidence. Evidence that Siberia is not one land, but many. Layered, fractured, and ancient. Beyond comprehension. There is a lake that holds 1/5 of the world's unfrozen fresh water, a lake older than most mountain ranges, deeper than any other on Earth. Lake Baikal, 25 million years old, over 1,600 meters deep, a rift in the Earth's crust that has been filling, slowly, since before humans walked upright. But numbers cannot capture what Baikal is. To stand on its frozen surface is to stand on something alive. In winter, the ice sings. Fractures race across the surface like blue veins, branching and colliding, creating sounds that echo for kilometers. Sharp cracks, low moans, sometimes a sound like thunder, rolling across the frozen expanse as pressure shifts deep below. The ice does not lie flat. Strong winds push frozen plates together, forcing them upward into towering formations called toros, ice mountains that resemble the ruins of a crystal city, sharp, layered, catching the light like broken cathedrals. Within these formations, caves form naturally. Water seeps through cracks, freezing in thin layers over months. The ceilings bristle with stalactites, delicate, transparent, formed without human hands. Step inside and all sound vanishes. Only the faint whistle of wind, only the deep occasional crack of ice shifting somewhere in the darkness. Baikal holds biological mysteries found nowhere else. In its frigid waters lives the Nerpa, the world's only freshwater seal, smaller than its ocean cousins, with rounded bodies and large, dark eyes, evolved for the perpetual twilight beneath the ice. On the western shore rises Olkhon, the largest island on the lake and the spiritual heart of this entire region. Here, the boundary between the physical and the sacred dissolves. At Cape Birken, the Shaman cliffs rise from the ice like a threshold between worlds. For centuries, this has been a place of pilgrimage, where shamans communed with spirits, where prayers were offered to forces older than any god with a name. The ribbons flutter, blue for the sky, white for purity, yellow for the earth. Each one carries a silent message, a hope for health, a plea for peace, a simple thank you to the forces that allow life to continue in such an unforgiving place. Baikal is not merely a lake, it is a memory, a prayer, a warning. It has watched continents shift, species rise and vanish, ice ages come and go, and still it endures. Still it holds its secrets close, waiting, as it always has, for those willing to listen. For centuries, Siberia was a world apart, a land so vast, so silent, so indifferent to human ambition that crossing it meant months of hardship, rivers frozen half the year, forests without end, distance measured not in kilometers, but in seasons. Then came the steel. In 1891, construction began on what would become the longest railway on Earth, the Trans-Siberian, a thread of iron and ambition stretching nearly 10,000 kilometers from Moscow to the Pacific coast. Seven time zones, forests that swallow sound, rivers that rise violently in spring, permafrost that buckles and shifts beneath the weight of progress. Tens of thousands of workers were sent into this wilderness, prisoners, soldiers, laborers with no choice. They laid tracks through frozen swamps, dug tunnels through mountains that had never known dynamite, built bridges over waters that could kill in minutes. Many never returned. Today, the Trans-Siberian remains a lifeline. Freight trains carry oil, timber, and grain across the continent, resources flowing westward like blood through a vein. Passenger cars move more slowly, stopping at stations where villages appear for a moment, then vanish into white. The railway did not conquer Siberia. Nothing conquers Siberia. But it connected it, stitched the sleeping giant into the fabric of a nation. Where the railway crossed the Ob River, a city rose from nothing. Novosibirsk began as a workers' camp in 1893, a temporary settlement for those building a bridge. Today, it is the largest city in Siberia, the unofficial capital of a region that was once considered uninhabitable. wide avenues, research institutes nestled among birch forests, culture, technology, and industry intersecting in ways the railways builders could never have imagined. And in Tobolsk, where Siberian history first took root, the past still stands. The only stone Kremlin in all of Siberia, white walls overlooking wooden houses and narrow streets, a fortress built by ambition and a prison for those who fell from power. From here, Russia reached eastward, and from here, the exiled disappeared into the vastness. What is Siberia? It is not one thing. It cannot be reduced to a single image, a single story, a single truth. It is the weight of cold that stops engines and preserves history for 50,000 years. It is fire bleeding through ice, pressure escaping as heat, a planet refusing to be still. It is water so deep and so old that it holds species found nowhere else on Earth. And it is the people, those who do not conquer this land, because conquest is impossible here, those who negotiate, who adapt, who measure life not in hours, but in patience, in respect, in the small agreements that make each day possible. They have learned what the land demands, and in learning, they have become part of it. Siberia is not a place you visit. It is a place that enters you, that reshapes something inside, quietly, permanently. You leave. You return to cities with noise and warmth and the comfortable illusion of control. But Siberia does not disappear when the journey ends. It remains, a quiet, profound heart, beating beneath the ice. Waiting. Watching. Enduring. Long after you leave,